Okay, good afternoon again, everyone. If you're in room one as well, my name is Lutfi Zurin. I'll be your moderator again for the last session in this room today. We have Mas Mordecai or Deka as our speaker. Mas Deka is a geoscientist at BT Geoservices. He has a huge interest in geostatistics and machine learning, especially for energy aspects. The title of this presentation is Code Distribution Estimation Using Kriging Method with Geostats by Library. I hope you guys stay tuned till the end because we are literally discussing code material. We'll talk about kriging as it's a method that is widely used in special parameter estimation. Here he will introduce how to make a kriging model using GeoStatSpy. If you have any question, you can ask through Hopin. Deka will answer your question in Q&A session. So without further ado, let's give a big applause to Masteka. Masteka, the stage is yours.
Okay, thank you, Mas Lutfi, and all of the PyCon committee. Also, thank you for all the participants who joined my presentation today. My name is Mordecai. Good afternoon, everyone. I am a geoscientist. Today, I would like to give an introduction about how to build a 3D model using the StatSpy library. Because in my current job, I'm quite actively applying many spatial estimation methods to determine many different aspects of area. So, however, in this presentation, I just take one of its main example about how using Green method, which is for mineral exploration. So this data is about percentage distribution data from Northern Europe area. Before we start, I hope the non-geos background participant can understand also this kriging method because this kriging method is not only limited to geoscientific data but also every kind of tabular data. Okay, let's start. Okay, my presentation is divided into three parts. First of all, I just want to make a brief explanation about the theory of kriging and the statistics. And then second one, I would like to give a brief explanation about the StatSpy library, which is this library is the main library that I use in this study case. And then finally, we proceed to the study case about how to build a kriging model using the StatSpy library. Okay, and then the theory. So, what is kriging? So kriging is a geostatistical method used to estimate the value of a point as a linear combination of sample values around the point. So if we take a look at the illustration at the right hand side here, there are two different kind of points. The first one is the red one. The red dot here means the value at the unobserved location. This value we want to determine here. So there is no value in there, so we want to estimate the value here. And then the second one is the yellow dots here. The yellow dots means the value at the observed location. So we have the data here, x coordinate, y coordinate, and the value here. So basically, we want to estimate this value in the red point, using the value in the yellow dots around the point. So we move on to the equation here. So this equation is the ordinary kriging. Actually, there are many types of kriging that we can apply to perform many spatial estimation tasks, such as co-kriging, universal kriging, and then even we can do a classification task with indicator kriging. However, to make it simpler, I just take one of the type of kriging, which is the ordinary kriging. So the equation is very simple, relatively simple. It's just the equation, how do we obtain the value at the unobserved location? It is just the multiplication between the WI here, the kriging weight, and the YSI. YSI is the value at the observed location, like I mentioned earlier. So we have we have this data, which is the observed location, and then we don't have this data, the weight between the observed and the unobserved location. And And then the question is, how do we get the Kriging weight value? Because we don't have this value in our data. The answer is we obtain the Kriging weight based on the use of variogram. So in the next slide, I will tell you about the variogram, how to utilize this geostatistical method. Then variogram is the geostatistical method that can visualize variance trend on a spatial perspective. Basically, variogram plot consisting of two different components. The first one is the data point here, the black dots, and then the model variogram. Variogram is the black line here. What is the difference? The data point is taken from the data sample, and then the model variogram is the function that we determine which we have to find the model variogram, the best possible model which fit close enough with the experimental variogram. So our goal is very simple. We have to trial and error process of the model variogram to get the function that is close enough with the data point here. And then we can see that there are many, not many, but several parameters here like seal, semi-variance, nugget, range. So I will give you a brief explanation here. So these are the important variables in variogram. The first one, the x-axis here, is the lag distance. So the lag distance is the distance between pairs of our data, of our data point. So the lag distance can be calculated every 1 meters, 10 meters, 20 meters. It can, it depends on our data. And then the y-axis here is the semi-variance or variance. So these parameters describe the similarity between data. So the higher the semi-variance or variance, the worse also the similarity relationship between our data. And then we see that when the lag distance increase, the semi-variance tends to be increased also, right? However, in a certain point, the semi-variance seems to be flattened, like in this point. So we can call the point here as a field parameter here. And then what is range? Range is the variogram value when it reaches zero here. And then this one, nugget. Nugget is not only, it depends on our data. Sometimes it occurs, sometimes it is not. Nugget is the variogram jump at the starting point. So at the like zero, it has a dissimilarity like that. So not every data has a nugget. Then okay, like I mentioned before, this variogram is utilized to obtain weight for Kriging. So this one is the matrix to obtain weight to obtain the Kriging weight to be used later to Kriging estimation. So I'm not going deeper into this equation. I just take one of the idea. I hope you can get the idea. So this parameter W is the weight for each unobserved location, and then the gamma here is the variogram. So for instance, like gamma at x1, x1. So the lag distance is nil because it is x1 and x1. So the lag distance is nil meter, right? And then it calculates in every n. So the n is it depends on our observed data. So if our observed data has 10 points, so the n must be n. The n must be 10, something like that. So after we calculate in the gamma here or the variogram, we can get the W, the weight for each unobserved location. And then, okay, this is the variogram map. Don't be confused about this map because variogram map is basically the projection of the experimental variogram plot into the plane. So if we see that our variogram is in lag distance and the semi variance, In this plot, we visualize, we project the model variogram into x and y axis, and the color map itself is a variance value. So it projects to the plane. What is this for? It is used to visualize the spatial continuity of data in general. So in order to make a better kriging estimation, we have to calculate the anisotropy or the spatial continuity trend. So with this variogram map, it can capture the general trend of our data. So if we have the trend like at this picture, we can input it into the our model variogram that I determined before of the azimuth angle. So it can get the better understanding of the kriging estimation later. And then this one is the complementary of the kriging method. This is the simulation method, because we know by performing kriging, we are not only get the estimated value but also the variance value at each point. So by utilizing these two parameters, we can get the PDF plot here, probability density function, and then we can conduct a random simulation here in the product PDF function, and then it will be resulting map, simulation map, like the picture at the right bottom here. So if we compare with these kriging results, it seems that these two methods have a same trend but a different value, because kriging result is the mean of the PDF function, and then the simulation is a random simulation between random simulation within the within the PDF function. So instead of we only model the estimated value, we can also get the picture of the uncertainty of our model. And then this is the other real world cases. We can utilize kriging method for geothermal exploration, oil and gas exploration, and then coal estimation, and then also we can do for environmental aspects for predicting air pollution and many more aspects. Okay, this one is the GeoStackSpy library, so you can simply install it with install GeoStackSpy in your anaconda.com. And then this one is the GitHub link, and it is developed by Michael Perch. He is a geoscientist, the associate professor in University of Texas at Austin, and consists of practical set of code for building spatial modeling like variogram, kriging. There are many types of kriging that you can try in this library, and also the simulation. Okay, now let's move into the study case. Okay, first thing first, we have to input our data. So let me give an explanation a little bit about our data. So our data, like I mentioned before, in the Northern Europe area. So this data is so the area is between Norway, Russia, and Finland. And then this data is a world percentage distribution, and this is part of Kola Eco Geochemistry project. You can check in this link, because this data is an open source project, open source data, so you can try it anywhere, anytime. And then our data consists of 551 data points. So the data is relatively simple. It is just the x coordinate, y coordinate, and the value of the gold itself. We can call gold as the aurum symbol AU here. So it's only contains of three columns like this picture here. Okay, after we input our data, we have to plot our data in order to see the distribution of our data in a map. So with by utilizing GeoStackSpy GSLib library, we can plot the data into the 2D plane here. So the GSLib here has a function named logmapsd, Basically, this function has three different components that you have to determine. First is the data, of course. You have to specify the column, data frame, x coordinate, y coordinate, and the value itself. And then you have to specify the range of map. It's like basic plotting. So you have to specify the min and max x, and then min and max y coordinate here, and then the z value, which is the color map value. And then you also specify you have to specify the label, the title, x and y label, and the color map. So this one is the product of the visualization. We can see that our data is has a empty. Our map has a empty data in the above, right above corner here. So in the but at the every data every point, it seems to be have sufficient data. I think. And then we proceed to the next step. Okay, before we conducting a Kriging estimation, we have to set the variogram, because this is the key, or this is the main parameters that depends on Kriging estimation. So if the variogram is good, the Kriging will be good also. So like I mentioned before, in the basic theory, there are two different components of the variogram. First one is the experimental variogram and the model variogram. First one, I will discuss about the experimental variogram. Experimental variogram is taken from data sampling. So we have to specify lag. In this case, I choose lag every 5,000 meters with n times equals to 15. So the maximum lag is 75,000 meters. And then the azimuth angle is 0 degree. Because since we're not yet conducting a variogram map, so we assume the first thing first we have assumed that there is no trend in our data, so we can specify to 0 degrees. And then after specifying these parameters, we can um, get the output, which is the gamma and NTPS. Gamma is variogram value for each leg, and the NTPS is the number of data pairs. And then after we specify the experimental variogram, we set the model variogram. So the model variogram is, we do this process over and over until we satisfy with our result, because we have to match our model variogram into the experimental variogram. So the input is relatively simple. It is just we only have to set the range, fill, and nugget. And then we will get the output is the variogram model, which is the line variogram function. And then if we not satisfied, we can do this process until we satisfy to until the function is matched into our experimental variogram. So after we get the parameters here, we can plot the variogram using matplotlib. It's basically the simple plotting using matplotlib. It is just overlay the scatter and plot. Scatter is the experimental variogram, which is the black dot here, and then the plot here is the black line, is the model variogram. So we assume that this model variogram has close has a close has already fit enough to our data. So we can proceed to the next step. Then the next step before kriging, we have to validate if our data has a trend or not. So we conducting a variogram map plotting using geostats.varmap_p. So basically this function we have to specify grid and min and max coordinate. So this one is our data frame, x coordinate, y coordinate, and world distribution. And then the min and max coordinate like this. The and leg means that the grid of the parallelogram map, and then the x is a delta grid of the coordinates. And then after specifying these parameters, we can get the parallelogram map parameters. Then we plot the gslib.pixel plt. So this gslib library is mainly used for plotting, and then for process we use geostats library. So it is quite a complete library, I think, because it this library do the processing and the visualization also. And then we can plot using gslib. And then this map is the product of the gslib plotting. Then we can see that there is no certain trend in this area. So I think the azimuth angle selection is not significant, so we can leave it to the 0 degrees. We cannot, we don't have to change the azimuth angle selection. Then after we certain with our parallelogram, we can proceed to our main step, which is the kriging. So the kriging method, we have to specify the grid, the nx, ny, and x size and y size. It will affecting our resolution of our product. And then xmn and ymn, it is the grid origin, the location center of lower left cell here. This is the grid origin. And then the radius. Radius is the maximum search distance. We have to specify this the same as the maximum length of the parallelogram model, which is the 75,000. And then K-type is a kriging type. We choose one for ordinary kriging. And then by combining into our parallelogram, we can get the K-map here. So we are using Geostat KB2D here, kriging 2D. It means kriging 2D, KB2D. And then we can get the K-map, kriging map. So after that, sorry. Like I mentioned before, we also got the P-map here. P-map is a variance map instead of only the estimation value. So we can discuss it later. And then the K-map here, we can plot using the gslib, the same as we plot the parallelogram map by specifying the map range here, xmin, xmax, ymin, ymax, and then we can get the visualization like the right hand side here. So you can see that at the empty data location there is some to be weird value, I think here. The more data you have, the better also your result, I think. Okay, this is our kriging estimation model. Let's move on to the sequential Gaussian simulation. So you can see that this is a Geostats library, SGSim, SG sequential Gaussian simulation function. So you can see that there are so many parameters here, but I capture the 4 parameters, which is very important that really affects the result of the SDS. So the important parameters are this one, the data, yeah, absolutely, and then the number of realization or the number of simulation, number of you do the random simulation here and sim, and then the random seed, and then the variogram. Again, variogram is a parameter that mainly determines the result of kriging and simulation. And then after we calculate the SDS here, we can plot using the gslib.logfixxt, same as the kriging plotting. By specifying the label and the grid size, we can get this map here, the simulation map. So yes, this is the product of our simulation map. Then Okay, this is the comparison between the estimation versus the simulation. Here, the left one is the kriging estimate. So, and then the right hand side is the simulation map. I just highlight the two main differences in our result. First one is the kriging can calculate best estimate value at each location. Of course, because kriging use the mean of the PDF function that we have it in each data point. Whereas the simulation calculate a good or reasonable value at each location because it use the random simulation at the PDF plot at each data point here. And then kriging estimate focus on local accuracy and then globally very smooth because it is use the mean of the PDF. And then for simulation, it focus on global accuracy but sacrifice local accuracy. So okay, I think this is the conclusion. So as you can see, GeoStatSpy is a complete Python library for geostatistics from A to Z. You can compare it with you can combine it with the other spatial estimation method or the machine learning method with sklearn. It is also possible. And then variogram is a main parameter that determines the result of kriging estimation. And then the third one, variogram map is an effective way to determine data trend apart from qualitative analysis in the field. So if we have knowledge regarding the geological map or the structural map, it can be very good because it can compare our knowledge with the result of our variogram map. And then last but not least, besides being able to model the estimate value, kriging can also model the uncertainty by conducting sequential Gaussian simulation. So I think that's all for my presentation, and I will be glad to answer your question.
Okay, so that was a heavy presentation material, but the audience is still processing. Thank you for the amazing talk that you have shared with us. It's really jam-packed with valuable insight, especially for people in geoscience field. So at this stage, we're opening some question from the audience. You already have some question here. First question, do you have any best practices to choose the most suitable geospatial interpolation method?
Okay. This is a good question. I think I will try to answer it. Unfortunately, no, because in my experiences, there are many data. So the most suitable geospatial interpolation method it depends on the data. For instance, like if we have the data that has a normal distribution data, it tends to be good. It tends to be producing a good result with kriging method. So, but if you have no, but if your data doesn't have the normal distribution, better you use other method like nearest neighbor or local polynomial interpolation, so something like that. Because I don't have the uh, best practice. So it depends on our data, I think.
Okay. Next question. For data like those, good distribution, is it possible to have outliers and how to handle it?
Okay. For the outliers, unfortunately, yes. Yes, I sometimes find the outliers of the distribution. Or this case, uh, if the outliers is and then do a special interpolation. However, if the data has a big proportion, I have to conducting a feature transformation, something like that.
Okay, next question. How Python is used compared to commercial solutions, MATLAB, maybe in geoscience?
Okay. Honestly, I never use MATLAB for kriging. However, I can take an example of the of Python, compare it with commercial software. The benefit of Python is we can specify more. We can specify more freely the parameters that we want to estimate in the. We want to specify the variable in the for the kriging estimation. However, with the commercial software, it is stuck into the function of the commercial software. So I think it's the benefit of Python compared to commercial software. On the MATLAB, I think maybe it's the same because it is the same programming. It is like Python. Yeah, we can specify parameters or variables in freely.
Okay, so related with this question, I'd like to ask some more question. So my guess is that in geoscience there are lots of like proprietary expensive softwares, right?
Yes.
So can Python replace all of them or any of them maybe?
Yes, I can say it is yes because the developing of Python, especially in GeoStatsPy library, is very wow. It's very amazing, I think, because and then I have to I already compare it the result with the commercial software, and yes, it's very good when we use tagging estimation or spatial interpolation in Python.
Okay, so like, can I say that I don't know if we can replace it? Can like anyone make make software with Python that can replace them? Maybe creating their own solution, not with much less cost, of course.
Yeah, I think yeah maybe if we yeah I think maybe because the Just library is already quite a very amazing developing compared to the other commercial software in conducting rigging estimation.
Okay. Okay, we still have lots of questions coming in. So next question. I've tried to do code creating analysis and I got a high MSE, i.e. plus minus 400. Is there any way to reduce the MSE model? Is there any good MSE standard?
Okay, this is a very interesting question and very technical, I think. Unfortunately, I rarely use MSE in square error. I prefer to use MAPE, mean absolute percentage error, because it can be described the percentage error of our data, not on because MSE in square error there is no, I think there is no standard. If I'm not mistaken, so I think mean absolute percentage error is quite safer, I think, to do error calculation. So for the Cochrane analysis, maybe you can try the other kriging analysis, like the kriging with um, kriging with trend. Yes, there sometimes when you are stuck with the co-kriging, you can do also with kriging with trend analysis. That can be has good result.
Okay. Next question. The technical too. What do you think about other methods of interpolation that not using variogram or semivariance in a basis like IDW or spline?
Okay, IDW, if I'm not mistaken, is the interpolation method based on the distance only, inverse distance, right? So maybe it is very useful in the area which there are no geological complex structure or like that, because it is only weight the spatial interpolation based on based on the distance between observed and unobserved location. However, if we have a complex area, complex structure, and then yeah, complex geological setting, I think it's better to use variogram, because it models the semivariance or variance between the data, not only uh, based on the distance. And then Is it possible? Is it possible to conduct with GeoStatSpy? I don't think so because in GeoStatSpy there is no IDW method.
Okay, next question. Do you have any idea what kind of pre-processing step that needs to be applied on geospatial dataset?
Okay. Maybe we can do a feature transformation to prevent outlier, like scaling transform, and then we can do some scaling transform to get the good parallelogram result. And then yes, I think that's the most yes, that it is the most crucial method to use when you work with the geospatial dataset.
Okay, we still have some like 10 minutes of time. We'll just like 7 minutes. Okay, so last chance for us, last questions. Wait, I haven't shown you this one. It's a general question. What Python library mostly used in geoscience?
Oh, it's many library Python library used in geoscience depends on the case that we conducting with. So for instance, like in the spatial interpolation, we use this method, this library, GeoStatPy for geostatistical, and then scalar for machine learning. And then also we can combine it with the other deep learning method, deep learning library. I mean, like PyTorch or Keras. Then there's for spatial interpolation, and then for seismic interpolation, like I think there's also use Keras. And then for loading data seismic or data well, we can use StackY.io or Flask IO. Yeah, there are a lot of library that we use in the scientific
So,
stuff.
okay. So I heard Keras a lot. Is it like deep learning is most also heavily used in geoscience too?
Yes, deep learning. Yes, like at the present at the uh, for the seismic interpretation, like the predicting fault, predicting phases analysis, it is using deep learning because there are a lot of feature, and then we there are a lot of features, so we choose to use the deep learning for the prediction or classification.
Or is it like a special one, visual, or like signal analysis, something like that?
Signal analysis, more like signal analysis.
Oh, this one. Ah, okay, okay.
Uh,
Interesting, interesting. Yeah, turns out that lots of field use basically the same tools, but for use different use cases, right?
yes, of course. Because basically we use a signal analysis method to predicting the condition with the subsurface. So we utilizing the signal or the seismic method signal analysis for get the illustration or the prediction of the subsurface condition, something like that.
Okay, okay, really interesting. I think that was the last question, but you still have want to hang out with Mastika. We still have several events after this. Now break networking session, quiz sessions, and we still have lightning talks like in 4:35 later. But for now, I think we're gonna take a break first. So Mastika, if you have any last remark for the audience, maybe.
Okay, thank you. It's great to be here. If you want to discuss more with me, you can contact me via LinkedIn or email. Thank you.
Oh, do you have like a slide where you have your social media, maybe? You can share
Oh,
to the audience.
okay. Wait. Yes, this is our LinkedIn and my LinkedIn and the email.
Okay, so you wanna take some notes? There's your chance. All right, that was a great session. Unfortunately, we're out of time. Thank you so much, Mastika, and also for all you who participated in this session. Allow me to close this session and see you soon in other session. Bye bye.
Bye.